Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I first want to apologize for the fact that we don't have a sign language interpreter here with us today. We learned this afternoon that no interpretation services were available, so we're going to be posting a fully captioned video of this news conference as well as the text transcript online as soon as this conference is over today. I'm going to begin with the latest COVID numbers in Massachusetts that we have and in Boston, and these numbers are as of yesterday. We had 235 confirmed cases in Massachusetts, bringing the total to 123,139 confirmed cases. There were 9 new deaths yesterday, bringing the total for total deaths in Massachusetts to 9,010. Boston's numbers also from yesterday, we had 51 new cases, bringing our total to 16,245. We had 2 deaths over the weekend, bringing our total deaths in Boston to 757. And as always, our thoughts and prayers go out to the individuals and the families that are suffering with COVID-19 and those of you that lost loved ones to this horrible virus. Trends for the week of September 7th. The positive test rate in Boston is 1.6%, and that's down from 1.7% last week. The cumulative total since the very beginning of the pandemic, we're down to 7.9%. Emergency room and ICU numbers continue to remain very low. It's one illustration of how far we've come. Also, 90% of the deaths that we've had in the city of Boston occurred before June 7th. Testing overall, 2,700 Boston residents were tested every day on average last week, including college students. Some of those areas I'm going to talk about now in East Boston, in the number of tests in East Boston, we really didn't have college students in that. It was mostly residents. In East Boston, as of September 7th, our 7-day positive test rate was 6.4%. That's slightly down from the week before and down from the 11.4 3 weeks ago. So a lot of the work that our community outreach has been doing and expanding testing in response to the community certainly is having an impact in East Boston, and we're seeing that number come down. The city's mobile testing site team remains in East Boston through Saturday in Central Square Park in Eastie. You can also go to the East Boston Health Center to be tested. Parts of Dorchester and Roxbury, the zip codes of 02121 and 02125, have a slightly elevated rate to 4.1%. We are monitoring those numbers, and our COVID Health and Equities Task Force is discussing responses. It's not quite at a place where puts a big alarm on it, but we don't want to see that number go any much above 4.1%, so we're going to go back out there and continue to do work. We keep bringing resources to the neighborhoods and the communities that need them. Testing access, you can find a map and info at boston.gov/coronavirus. That's anywhere in the city of Boston if you want to find that. And actually yesterday I found in my Maps app, if you type in coronavirus testing, it'll pop up and it'll tell you where testing is in your neighborhood and if you have an iPhone. We also have information in multiple languages, free food and rent relief to residents, and for PPE and signage to small businesses. So for anything that I just mentioned or any information you're looking for, you can visit boston.gov/coronavirus or boston.gov/reopening and get all that information. And I'm grateful to everyone for playing a part in keeping us all safe. What we're doing continues to work, so we're masking people as I do at every press conference. Let's keep it up. We want to continue to stay 6 feet from other people when you're walking or out in gatherings. We're asking you to wear a mask when you leave your house. We're asking people to continue to wash your hands as frequently as possible with soap and warm water. We're asking you, again, to clean those frequently touched surfaces, whether it's your doorknobs in your home or your place of work or your car. If you operate a business, we're asking you to follow the guidelines and make sure that your employees and customers can follow them as well, and make sure there's clear signage in the places of employment or in restaurants so people momentarily forget about the world we're in. They kind of a reminder in front of you. If you're a college student, we're asking you to please follow the college guidelines. If you live in a large household with either with roommates or a multi-generational family, we're asking you to be very careful as well in there, and that's where washing hands, wearing masks, and cleaning down surfaces, because as people go out and come back in, if they touch the surface that might have the virus, you can bring it into the household. We're asking people again to please avoid large gatherings, and if you've been to a party or gathering of any kind, assume that you've been exposed to the virus and we're asking you to get tested to protect yourself and your families. And this weekend we got some calls, police calls, 911 calls for large gatherings in different parts of the city of Boston, and I'm asking people to, if you could cut back on those. It really is about protecting yourself, protecting your family, and protecting others, so we're asking you to stay very vigilant on that. COVID-19 obviously is still very much with us. That's why we'll continue to put public health first. That's why we'll continue to make equity a priority, helping those who are hit the hardest in those neighborhoods that are hit the hardest. And that's how we're going to be moving forward with our recovery, to open our schools safely and support our kids and our teachers, to get back to work and help our small businesses recover, to house the homeless, and to get people with substance use disorder the access to treatment that they need. A lot of these programs are open now to full capacity, so we're trying to encourage people to take advantage of these different programs. And we're also going to continue to work to improve the quality of life in our neighborhoods throughout the city. We are working to build our city back stronger than it was pre-COVID. We are determined to come out of this pandemic a healthier and more equitable city than we entered it. On our streets and our public spaces are great examples. Transportation has been a critical focus of our planning effort in recent years. The pandemic brought a new urgency for safe and reliable transportation, especially for our frontline workers and essential workers that have been using it the most frequently over the last 5 months. So we didn't put these plans on hold. Our offices continue to work. Our transportation department continues to work every day. Instead, we took this opportunity to actually make some progress. Earlier this summer, we launched something called Healthy Streets. We installed pop-up bike lanes in downtown that connect neighborhoods to commuting routes, and people saw the orange barrels in many places. We began offering 90-day free passes for blue bikes for essential workers, and we took steps to make neighborhood bus routes safer and more reliable. Today, I'm announcing some permanent street upgrades that advance our Healthy Street program and meet some of our key planning goals here in Boston. First, starting this fall, we'll be installing new bus lanes on neighborhood corridors, where working people rely on MBTA routes very heavily. On Columbus Ave in Roxbury, we're building a bus lane in the middle of the roadway. They're going to have boarding platforms for passengers with safety and accessibility features, so we're going to be making sure that they're safe to board and that the customers, the commuters are safe. Nearly 1/3 of the people who travel on Columbus Ave travel on buses. These lanes will make a big difference in reliability in travel time, and it will also make the streets work better for everyone, including cars and bikes as people go down them. On North Washington Street in the North End and the West End, we're adding a bus lane that will serve up to 12,000 commuters a day. That includes many essential workers who have been riding buses throughout this pandemic. On Washington Street in Rosendale, we're going to add an outbound evening bus lane from Forest Hills to Rosendale Square. This route is roughly used by 19,000 daily commuters, and we've seen success with the morning lanes here. And I want to thank the community of Rosendale, because quite honestly, this is one of the first neighborhoods that we did a pilot program. We did a pilot program over a weekend. We did a pilot program over a month. And the community of Rosendale overwhelmingly asked us to make it permanent. So I want to thank you for setting the tone and the standard here. Bus lanes have worked well and proven popular. They get more people safely and efficiently where they need to go. And they also increase equity in our working class and our senior residents. And I want to thank the MBTA for their partnership on this as well. The second big step that I can announce today is that we're making many of our pop-up bike lanes into permanent separated bike lanes this fall. That includes routes around Boston Common and Public Gardens, Tremont Street, Boylston Street, Charles Street, Beacon Street, and Arlington Street. This is a part of our Connect Downtown network, linking our neighborhood routes to downtown jobs. They're a great recreational tool and for tourism as well. In addition to the bike lanes, we're adjusting traffic signals to increase safety, and we'll be redesigning intersection work for pedestrians to make sure that our pedestrians, as they get into intersections, that they work. So we're asking people to, as the construction's going on, to be patient with us here. But again, this is all about adding opportunities in our city. We're going to continue to offer our free 90-day Blue Bike Pass program. It's a great time to try commuting by bicycle if you haven't done it already. This past Sunday, Blue Bikes riders set an all-time daily record with 14,403 riders. We're proud of the work we've done to expand this public bike share network in Boston and our neighborhoods and quite honestly, our neighboring cities and towns Many years ago when we started this, it wasn't in every neighborhood. We have blue bikes now in almost every neighborhood in the city of Boston, and obviously cities and towns that surround us. In addition, we're going to keep working with residents on solutions for American Legion Highway from Dorchester to Rosendale to improve safety. Many complaints have come in on that stretch of road with people racing and drag racing, and we're going to continue to work to monitor to make that roadway better. To learn more about anything that I spoke about today or any road improvements or bike improvements that we're going to be doing in the city of Boston, we ask you to go to boston.gov/healthy-streets. That's boston.gov/healthy-streets. You can also talk to our transportation planners directly in both outdoor office hours and virtual office hours. We've also made some small businesses the recovery a priority here in Boston. So far, our Small Business Relief Fund has awarded $6.7 million to 1,700 businesses in need across every neighborhood in the city of Boston. This is money from the city of Boston. This is nothing to do with the state or the federal government. This is all city money. Our Reopen Boston Fund has provided $2.1 million in grants to over 1,200 small businesses for PPE, safety materials, and cleaning supplies. And our outdoor dining program has been the lifeline for many restaurants. At a time when indoor seating remains limited for health reasons, we've permitted over 550 restaurants in the city of Boston for outdoor dining. We continue to make portable mobility ramps accessible and available. Restaurants permitted for outdoor dining can request a ramp by emailing ada@boston.gov. Today I can announce also that we're extending the October outdoor dining program beyond its original date of October 31st. Restaurants using private outdoor space can continue to do so for the duration of the public health emergency. And restaurants using public health space on streets and sidewalks will be able to continue until December 1st, when we'll look at the situation again. Obviously, outdoor dining is weather dependent here in New England, and at some point snow plows might get in the way, but I've gotten some reassurance from some meteorologists around the Commonwealth that we're going to have a mild fall and hopefully a mild winter, so please keep it up so we can help our restaurants. But as the temperatures in Boston go down, and today is a cool day, we're going to waive application fees for outdoor dining propane heaters in dining areas. You still need a permit from the fire department, but the safety regulations around their use remains 100% in place, but the fee will be waived. We're trying to help our restaurants continue to take advantage of outdoor space as long as possible. You will be able to use electric heaters without a permit as long as you don't have cords crossing the sidewalk. So electric heaters are permitted without a permit as long as there's no cords across the sidewalk. The outdoor dining program is a collaboration led by the licensing board and several departments, along with our small businesses and our neighborhood residents, along with many of our Main Street districts. I want to thank everyone involved, including our restaurant owners, for your patience and for what you're doing to the city of Boston. I know this has been a very difficult time for all of you, and what we're trying to do now is a community effort to support you. My hearts go out to many of the owners of these restaurants and the staff there. In many ways, you are the heart and soul of our local economy and our different neighborhoods in the city. We're going to continue to listen to you and provide whatever support and flexibility we can to help you recover. We will continue to provide you with the information and the materials that you need to keep your staff and customers safe. And we'll continue to help your customers find support, our small businesses, through online directories. So we're asking people to go to boston.gov/reopening to see what businesses are open in the city, what you can buy online, what you can get delivered from them. As much as we can possibly help our local businesses, even by takeout, it would be extremely important to all of them. So anything you're looking about our small business program or directories, boston.gov/reopening. I want to begin to close with reminders about the community conversations we're having on race and justice. Last week, the Police Reform Task Force published its draft recommendations. We are determined to move forward in all areas that they talked about: oversight, diversity, use of force, technology, transparency. We take those steps. As these steps go to the community, the task force needs your input. So we've put the task force out in 6 different languages so people can understand and get access to them. You can find the task force recommendations, and these are drafts, on boston.gov/policereform. The task force is holding a final community listening session on Tuesday, September 22nd at 4 p.m. You can submit any written comment until Friday, September 25th, before the task force finalizes its recommendations. This is a historic step that we're taking as a city. It's another chance for Boston to be a national leader in justice, and this is your chance to shape the progress. And I just want to take a second to thank the task force members that were made up of activists and organizers and members of the Boston Police Department and all the great work that's gone into the task force. The task force is not finalized yet, so it is important to hear community input and get the input as much as possible, so we're asking you to do that. There's also a separate issue, the U.S. Census. There's 15 days left to respond to the 2020 census. The census count, as I've said many times here, happens every 10 years. It's how the federal government assigns congressional representation, and it's how the federal government assigns funding for programs, both of those that exist and that may be created over the next 10 years. Tomorrow we are holding a Census Day of Action with special outreach programs with volunteers. At this point, every day is critical. We are still around a 57% response rate. We need to get that number up here in the city. Our immigrant communities and communities of color historically get undercounted, therefore we get underfunded. We got some good news last week. The federal court blocked the president's attempt to remove undocumented immigrants from the count and from congressional representation. We were proud to fight for this decision, and we believe that our residents deserve representation. I'm asking people as well, when you think about the census, think about it this way: this is your money. When you pay your federal taxes, it's an ability to get your federal taxes spent back here in Massachusetts, in the city of Boston. So if you haven't filled out your census, we're asking you to go to my2020census.org to fill out the census, and then there'll be people out, and there's mailings going out every day as well. We also got some tough news yesterday. A different court decision allowed the Trump administration to move forward with a plan to take away temporary protective status from nearly 500,000 people. TPS holders are here lawfully and would face danger returning to their country of birth. 12,000 residents of Massachusetts have TPS status, including Bostonians who are originally from Haiti, El Salvador, Nicaragua, and Nepal. They lived here lawfully for years. Their children were born here and are American citizens, and they are essential workers who have saved lives and got us through this pandemic. And it's unfortunate that we saw that yesterday. This is something that we've been fighting here in the City Hall and the city since 2017. We'll have more to say about this in the days ahead. Anyone with TPS and anyone that has temporary protective status should know that this would not go into effect until next year. You can call 311 to connect to our Office of Immigrant Advancement for supports, and if you're not quite sure what this means, what the ruling meant yesterday, we asked you to call 311. We're in a constant battle with the White House to protect our immigrant communities, respect the contributions that they make, and live up to the ideas as a nation, which is really important. The census is one way to fight back. We're asking you again to fill out the census form to my2020census.gov. I gave you the wrong information, my2020census.gov. And we're asking you to make sure you ask your friends and neighbors to do the same. I want to finally end by, I want to commend Councilor Wu on her decision. I have a great respect for her or anyone who runs for office. I look forward to more conversations about how we can move our city forward. But right now we're battling the COVID-19 pandemic. We are working to rebuild our economy, to help workers and small businesses. We are working to reopen schools safely. School starts on the 21st, online, and then remotely a week after that. We are housing hundreds of homeless individuals and families. We are preparing to open a stunning new library in Nubian Square in Roxbury. We're advancing historic reforms with our police department. And at the same time, we're focused on electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris so my administration can have a partner in Washington over the next 4 years. And that's quite honestly what I'm working on right now, focused on. So I want to thank you. Before I open up the questions to the press that's here, I have one question from the Boston Herald. Rick Sobey, the question is, the latest Boston College testing figures today are trending in a better direction last week. Has your level of concern changed? And I just want to say I certainly remain concerned about the situation at Boston College as any outbreak, or any outbreak, quite honestly, in the city of Boston. We are working with Boston College and the city of Newton and the state to make sure that we address in a swift, thorough way so both students and the surrounding communities are kept safe. Overall testing results at colleges have been very low infection rates, which is great. but I want to remind all residents, including students, to follow public health guidelines and make every effort to keep yourself and your community safe. And I'd like to ask Monty Martinez just to come briefly to the podium to talk a little bit more about colleges.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we continue to work, the Boston Public Health Commission and the city, Health and Human Services, and our partners with colleges and universities. As I think most folks know, we reviewed their control plans to make sure that we knew their testing protocol and all those pieces that would be in place when positive cases happened. In the BC, for example, we've been partnering with them closely and the state to make sure that we can support their current efforts, their isolation efforts, and we've also worked with them to increase testing, which was necessary as they saw some individuals test positive. So it's been an all-hands-on-deck effort. BC's been very responsive and worked in collaboration with us and Brookline and Newton, as well as the state, to address these issues, and we'll continue to monitor them. Thanks.
With that, any questions for me or Marty Martinez, quite honestly?
With regards to the outdoor dining, Mr. Mayor, what have restaurants told you in terms of the program? What has it meant for them during the course of this pandemic to be able to open up and serve customers? And what kind of business are they seeing?
Yeah, the question is what has been opening outdoor dining meant to a lot of the restaurants, what am I hearing, and what's it meant for them in their business? Quite honestly, a lot of people I've spoken to, it added to, they were doing takeout, some of them tried to do takeout throughout the pandemic, and they said it's been a great help. But a lot of them have said to me if they break even, they're lucky. So even though it's not adding money, it's not adding revenue in their pocket, it's allowing them the opportunity to hire people and employ people. But I don't think any of them will say that this has replaced any of the lost revenue. So I think our restaurants are still in very fragile ground, particularly as we move forward into the winter time here. But again, that's why I ask people that when you're thinking about taking takeout, if you could think about ordering locally, it would be a tremendous help to the local businesses.
Can the city help out these restaurants at all in terms of obviously they'll put up tents, they'll put heating? Is there any sort of assistance for the restaurants to be able to get those things?
We don't have, I mean, I think we're trying to, we did create that fund that I mentioned earlier where we gave about $2.1 million. We won't have, I don't think, enough money to be able to build infrastructure around these different facilities. But we did give a lot of them the barriers that are around there, the handicap ramps that we help them with. And we're going to try and continue to be creative as we move forward. I've seen on one of the news stations, I know which restaurant it was, with the bubble. So they're trying to be creative to be able to have the bubble, meaning you can eat outside, but you have like a little heater in there. It'll be interesting to see as we move forward here. The pandemic is still going to be very much here with us in December. And I think our restaurants took a big hit back in March, April, May, June, and they lost a lot of revenue. Now, some did get CARES Act money, and I'm hopeful that the United States Senate goes back into session and addresses CARES Act 2, if you will, because there's still a big need in our communities, for our smaller businesses in our communities, not just here in Boston. I talk to mayors all around America. They're in the same boat, and particularly our businesses of color around America. A lot of them didn't get access to the PPE and didn't get access to the CARES Act, and I know the bill that passed Congress a few months ago does have direct money going to different communities, so hopefully it helps.
Councilor Wu.
Yeah, Councilor Wu obviously announced, and it's probably no surprise to you. She said that the city needs to change, that it needs to be more representative of people of color, that it needs to change. Do you agree with that statement?
I'm not going to get into a political debate today. As I said, I commend the councilor on her decision. There'll be plenty of time down the road to have many conversations about what direction Boston is going in, and at that point, we'll address all those. Who asked me? Sean did. Again, like I said a minute ago, right now I'm focused on the job in front of me, the pandemic, the economy, the questions that come here about our restaurants and getting our economy back up and running. I think that's really important we focus on. Quite honestly, one of my #1 priorities right now is school. The 21st, our kids start back all remote learning, and then on October 1st, I believe, we start the hybrid model, and then we phase in. So that's my focus, and getting Joe Biden and Kamala Harris elected President of the United States of America. I think it's important that I have a strong partner. For the last 3 years, I haven't had a partner in Washington, D.C. We haven't had a partner in Boston, quite honestly, Washington, D.C., advancing affordable housing, advancing public housing, advancing infrastructure, and it'll be great to have a partner back in Washington helping us with that.
As a follow-up to an earlier question, Councilor Wu has said that your administration has failed to translate Boston's economic boom into solutions for the city's economic and racial inequities. What's your response to that?
Yeah, there'll be plenty of time to have conversations about all of anyone that has, whether it's the council or anyone else that might decide to think about running for mayor. There'll be conversations later on at some point about all that. Any other questions? Thanks, everybody.